Hello, everyone. This is Jessica Pettit again. And who do I have the pleasure of interviewing today?
My name is Bernadette Smith.
Excellent. And what brings you here today? What kind of work do you do?
I do diversity and inclusion work, but I'm a keynote speaker, I'm a writer, and I have my own consulting firm. And I've been an entrepreneur for 17 years. So I love talking about entrepreneurship. I love talking about positive news in the world. I have a newsletter that I write every week called 5 Things that's focused on good vibes and DEI. All sorts of really cool stories that I have found and curated that are mostly current news about really exciting things and cool policy changes that different companies and organizations are doing, focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I really try to focus on positive stuff. I'm all about really making the work of diversity feel easier, feel more accessible, feel like, all right, let's roll up our sleeves and do this. There is a path forward and we can do it in a positive, productive way. Awesome. I know that we still have to reflect on our own journeys and our own biases, and we do all of that, but there's also a lot of positive stuff that we can take action on. That's what I like to focus on, getting in action.
Yeah, that's rad. Well, I think I'm positive that you'll be able to answer 2 questions about ideas or concepts that are rolling around my weird brain.
Okay.
So the first one is the concept of diversity dividend. So the first time I heard this term, a client was challenging me about what is the profit margin of doing diversity work. So then diversity dividend kind of showed up in my brain. So how does that concept land on you?
I guess I don't know that I'm gonna ask you to define it, so I'm not making an assumption about how you are using it, or is it just up to my own interpretation?
Can't know. Welcome to my brain. It changes definition every day.
I've heard that phrase before. I don't know exactly what it means. What I will say is that dividend to me sounds like a reward. It sounds like a reinvestment. It sounds like an opportunity. And I do think that when diversity work is done well and done properly, and it's not done without also considering equity and inclusion, so when it's all taken together, I do think that there are dividends. There are certainly dividends for the individual employees who can rise farther within organizations. There are dividends for leaders who can benefit from the innovation that comes from inclusive teams. There are dividends for organizations in terms of the overall bottom line, and there are dividends for folks like you and I who do this work for a living and can help others and provide for ourselves and our families. Absolutely. So I can only see it as a positive. My mind doesn't go to the negative by default.
But that's what you said, right? It's the positive spin. So here's another one. And this one is more possibly about your actual work experience, but you can go anywhere you want to.
Okay.
So the other concept rolling around my brain is asterisks, other duties assigned. So in my experience, sometimes I volunteer for things to connect to communities, survive, depending on how bad it is, right? But those are asterisks, other duties assigned by me. And then sometimes they are other duties assigned that I'm not rewarded for the labor, emotional or physical, mental labor. And it's because where my office is located or some identity I have, it's not in my job description, but it's the last line of the job description by my boss, whoever that might be. Sure. What experiences have you had with asterisks, other duties assigned?
Well, Jess, I don't know if you know this about me, but I used to be a wedding planner. And I had my own business, but when you're a wedding planner, other duties are automatically assigned. I mean, it is a slippery slope. I have done everything from pick up a sofa at an IKEA in Long Island in a U-Haul truck and drive it to Provincetown, Massachusetts, because the IKEAs in Massachusetts did not have that particular sofa and we wanted to have it instead of renting lounge furniture. So that is an example of how far I will go. How far I went.
Yeah, past tense.
I'm retired. how far I went to help clients. So, in the wedding world, so again, I am no longer in that world. But in the wedding world, it's certainly a slippery slope. It's been over 17 years since I've worked for someone else. So I've never sort of had that job description thrown on me by a manager or by, just a job description. I think that but I do think that when you were talking about it, I see it certainly as emotional labor and physical labor, and sort of the opportunity, the potential it's giving managers or organizations the ability to take advantage of folks. It's like the I don't know, the button that opens up all of the possible, the Pandora's box, right?
Right.
And so it can be a slippery slope, and it can be a slippery slope as a consultant too, even though I'm not in the wedding industry anymore. And there are certainly boundaries that we set in our scope of agreements with clients. It can be a slippery slope, or if we're doing a retainer project and they're, going over our X number of hours per month.
Mm-hmm.
How much do we challenge that, right? And at what point are we going to be nickel and diming them? I mean, there's a part of that too that is about, well, what are my boundaries and how much am I willing to take, for lack of a better expression. I think that's the same thing that individuals face, whether they're self-employed or not.
I love that you name I call it the gas tank for retainer clients.
Mm-hmm.
So like, if I like working with you, the needle moves slower.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't like working with you, oh my gosh, are we already out of time this month? I'm so sorry. Yeah, it depends. So
sure, it does depend. And it depends on how often you're taken advantage of, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how it go, and again, their approach. You're right. So all of that, there's a lot of variability in that question. It's very open. But I think for my partner is a coach, a success coach, and if she's taught me a lot. But if there's one thing that she's really, really taught me, it's about the importance of boundaries and managing expectations of clients.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
So important.
Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, 2 favorite questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Number 1 is, what have you changed your mind about lately? Doesn't have to be DEI specific, it can be anything in the whole wide world.
Yeah. I have changed my mind about lately. I changed the name of my book lately. So we can say that. I mean, that was definitely one thing. Naming a book is tough, right? Trying to figure out how you represent your brand to the world. And my book title is Inclusive 360. But I had previously given the subtitle of A No Excuses Roadmap to an Equitable Workplace. And no excuses to me is like, yeah, that feels like, all right, let's do this. Let's get in action. There are no excuses. I love that subtitle. But then someone pointed out to me that it wasn't about the positive, that it was negative, that it was kind of a shaming subtitle, no excuses. And so now the subtitle is Proven Solutions for an Equitable Workplace. So that's more positive. That's more on brand.
Yeah.
So that's something that I changed my mind about lately, because I do think that brand alignment, I know it's a work stop thing, but it's important because I want to be a breath of fresh air. I know that I am. I know that I can bring a different perspective to this work, but it has to be cohesive, all 360.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. Next one is, what do you absolutely know?
What do I absolutely know?
And again, anything. Like I always say, coffee, ice cream. I did not know this. Now I know.
Well, one thing that I absolutely know is that the universe has my back. And I have an awful lot of trust in the universe, in the laws of things, the natural laws of things, and the universal laws, and the reciprocity, give and take. All of that stuff really matters to me. And it took me a while to figure that stuff out. It took me a while as an entrepreneur, way too long, to develop an abundance mindset. I was raised by parents who were immigrants, and they were very frugal. And even though they were also entrepreneurs, I didn't feel like I had, I just didn't know what it felt like to have an abundance mindset. I was always in a spirit of scarcity, fear-based work. And it took me a long time to sort of get through the other side of that. And part of that is trusting the universe, trusting the universe in every way, and knowing that if I keep showing up, if I keep putting one step forward every day, if I keep giving, if I keep staying in a spirit of service, it's all going to come back, and it's going to come back in phenomenal ways. And it has, and it does. And it's really, really liberating. I went on a vacation last week to Mexico, and every previous time I've been to Mexico, I've never had to pay for my accommodation. I've been there for speaking. I've been there for a business trip of some sort. I've never had to pay for my hotel. This time we went there just purely for vacation, paid for our Airbnb. And it was the first time I've ever been there where I was just like, here's my money. Like, I just felt like these people have so much less than us. And it is my responsibility as a human to be generous and to be gracious and to give. And, 100 pesos is $5, and it goes along, like, it really, it helps people out there. And so, it was the first time I've ever been on a vacation like that, where I was in this spirit of abundance and the spirit of giving and the spirit of no fear about any of it, knowing that the universe had my back. It felt really great. It felt so liberating.
That's awesome. What a beautiful story. Well, it's an awkward segue from a beautiful story to the lightning round, but awkward segue. Here we go. So I have icebreaker cards. There's 50 some odd plus of them. You gave me 3 magical numbers. So I will say the numbers. They're either easy, intermediate, or deep, and I will tell you, and that's based on me, right? And I'll tell you the question, what it is, and then as quickly as possible, answer it, and then we'll move to the next one. Sound good?
All right. Sounds
good. 3 of them. So you gave 13, 7, and 31. So the first one is 13, which according to me is an easy question. And that is, what is the story behind your name? Legal, preferred, or a nickname?
Well, my name again is Bernadette, and my mom's name was Bridget Bernadette. So I have my mom's middle name. My parents were born in Ireland. Apparently, Bernadette Smith is a name embraced by all races and countries, because I happen to have the OG Gmail address, and I get all sorts of email for the wrong Bernadette Smith. Of incredible diversity with that name, princesses of France, queens of Sweden, Black people from Atlanta, like lots of people have my name. And so, my very, very white Irish Catholic parents gave me that name because it was my mom's middle name.
That is awesome. And in case you didn't notice, there's not a ghost. That's Leo. He's come for his afternoon nap that came through the curtain. So welcome to my life. Number 7, if you were given $6,000 to plan your next vacation, where would you go and what would you do?
All right. For my next vacation, we will, for $6,000, I think we'll fly to Australia and, do some exploring, probably we'd certainly spend time in Sydney, but also in what's that other, I'm totally stuck on the other major city there. Anyway, we don't know Australia that well, but I'm really excited to go at some point, and that's probably what I would spend my $6,000 on.
Melbourne,
yes. Yes.
I win. Number 31. This is intermediate, I think. And that is, what is your go-to cook to impress meal, and how did you learn to make it?
I am all about the Instant Pot.
That has been my savior during this little COVID time, because I don't know how to cook.
The Instant Pot is amazing. So a go-to impress meal that I can easily make in the Instant Pot could be tomatillo chicken tacos. So all you have to do is take 1 jar of salsa verde, 1 pound of chicken breast, put them both in the Instant Pot, few shakes of cumin, set the Instant Pot on 20 minutes, fork shred the chicken, put it in corn tortillas, a little bit of avocado. Can't beat it. So fast.
That
So
sounds
easy.
amazing. It's
Yes.
an instant meal. Dun, dun,
It's an instant
dun.
meal.
Well, Bernadette, if people wanted to get in touch with you, how would they go about doing that?
They can do that by visiting bernadettesmith.com.
Along
Or
with
connect
everybody
with me
else
on
around the
LinkedIn.
world.
I love LinkedIn. So find me
Oh.
on LinkedIn as well.
Great. We're talking over each other. So I
Sorry.
was saying they could visit bernadettesmith.com along with all the other leaders and people from around the world. You were saying also on LinkedIn. So I
Also
want to make
on
sure that
LinkedIn.
both of those get heard. Okay. Thank you very much. And this has been great. And I really appreciate you taking some time here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.